everyone. Hi. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm gonna have my iPad situated kind of landscape. So I know that Instagram is normally this way, but this is so I can save the video and post it later to YouTube so you guys can keep watching it over again. Hi. So for right now, I mean, it's kind of going to be the same thing either way, but we're just going to kind of recreate this snowflake that I made, for reals. Let me see if that looks good. Okay. So, and if you have any questions, hi from Houston, Texas. Hello. So I'm going to kind of just show you some of my tips and tricks that I do for Symmetry. Like, I love using Symmetry all the time. So this is kind of the idea we're going to make, but I sketched out a snowflake that's pretty similar to this, but we're going to kind of do a little bit different to how I showed you in my reel, just to make things, show you some of my tips and tricks. So without further ado, let's get started. I have this previous snowflake that I made in one group, and let's just add a new layer to start from scratch. I have a sketch already planned out. This is what I'm gonna kind of follow as far as what we're doing. So if you want to screenshot this, go ahead and trace this, or you can totally do your own thing and just kind of follow the techniques I'm using in the video. But I'm going to turn that sketch layer off, and I have a new blank layer right here. This is a screen size canvas. My iPad is iPad Pro 12.9 inch, and so the screen size canvas for that would be, let's see, dimensions, these pixels, and the DPI right now is at 132 because this isn't, I'm not going to print this, but normally I go for a 300 DPI. Anyway, so let's get started. Let's turn on our drawing guide, and we're going to turn on Symmetry. So down here we're going to tap Symmetry, and right now it has just a vertical. We have vertical selected. That's what it's automatically going to go to, and we're going to change that to radial. And just before we do anything, you can keep it like this. I'm going to change it to rotational symmetry right now, and I'm going to add something. So right now I have my Pascal brush set out, and that's my sketching brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw, with rotational symmetry turned on, I'm just going to draw spokes, and I'm going to tap the edit over here, and we're just going to move these so they're centered. And this is basically, I'm going to make it match up with this line like this. And this is for later on. I'm not going to need this layer immediately, but I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to duplicate that layer. So layer number 9 right here, we're going to duplicate. And then what we're going to do is I want to rotate it. So right now I want extra spokes evenly distributed between the spokes we have right here. So I'm going to tap the move tool, and what you can do to make it super precise and perfectly in between is you can tap this green dot up here, and then you can change the degree by tapping in the number. So I want there to be 16 spokes, because right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so 360 degrees all the way around divided by 16 is 22.5. And so that'll automatically shift it so it's perfectly in between. Okay, and that's because it's on a separate layer. So we have that. And then right now some of these spokes don't go all the way out to the edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it bigger. And then to make sure it still lines up in the center, I want to make sure it's centered with these 2 yellow lines, and that's with snapping turned on. So with snapping turned on, you want to make sure you see those 2 yellow lines. And then you have 16 spokes, and then I'm just going to pinch those 2 layer 9s together. And I'll have that for later. But right now we're going to get rid of that. We don't need that. What we do want is this sketch layer. So if you've screenshotted that, great. Or if not, you can do whatever you like. And then I'm going to lower the opacity. Okay. Okay. So just so I can see a light outline, and then let's get to drawing. So I'm going to leave the sketch layer. That's always going to be at the top, and I'm going to add some layers beneath it. And so for this, we're going to be using my glitter brush set right here, and we're going to be using the fine glitter from there. And the colors I'm using, they don't look that interesting. If you can see them right here, these are all the colors we're going to be using. And if I go over here to my classic slider, what you're going to see is when I tap this first one, it's pretty low on the brightness, but when you draw with it, you can see it's glittery. Okay, and then to make that even better, I have this kind of bluish green, dark bluish green teal color, and I'm going to put that as the background for this. Okay, and then I'm actually going to up the opacity of my sketch so I can see that better. But anyway, so let's go back to this first color. And so what we're going to do with this, with the fine glitter brush, I'm going to just start drawing. And so with the Symmetry, I actually want to make sure that this is drawing assist is turned on for the layer, because when it's not, so this layer doesn't have drawing assist, I'm just going to draw wherever and nothing's going to be too interesting. But with the assisted layer, you'll see that. And then the one thing we're going to do now is we're going to go back and we're going to change this to turn off rotational symmetry, and make sure I keep my drawing guide right there. Okay, so now we're just going to start drawing. And this is pretty simple. This is pretty standard of anything you want to do with Symmetry. And if you go over those lines again with the glitter brush, it'll get brighter every single time. Like if I wanted to go crazy bright, you could go like that. So for right now, I'm just going to do, let's do, where do I want to go? Let's do these two. Let's do a V like this. Okay, and just go over them a little bit more to make them brighter. And then we're going to move on to the next one. And so with these colors, what it's basically doing is it's kind of just going across this grayscale. So like this slider right here, it's super saturated, and then we're just moving along to make it less saturated, less saturated, less saturated. But I have some colors pre-selected right here, and I don't know if you can see those, but so if I go here, I'll just show you. Let me add a layer. So this one's pretty saturated, and then like down here, it's a little bit whiter, and then this one's pretty stark. So it goes down the scale to make it kind of ombre. So we've started with this first color. We're going to go with the next color, and we're just going to make sure, let me go back to my assisted layer. We're going to draw, and they're going to match up nicely, and then we're going to do the same thing on this V, like that. Okay, and then we're going to move to our next color, and just basically I'm tracing this sketch I already made out here. Okay, so, and then we're going to do that over here, and I want to make sure I go around. Sometimes I forget to do that second part, but now we're going to go to our fourth color, and same thing. So I'm just going to go along this here, and then make sure I don't forget this side right here. And these brushes, I forgot to mention, they are pressure sensitive. So if I press really hard, they're going to be bigger. And then if I use lighter pressure, they're going to be smaller. And then you can change the size over here. So for right now, maybe we'll lower that. And then let's see, let's go to the next less saturated tone. And then let me go this way. It's a little bit easier for me to draw this way. And then let's go over here. And let me zoom out just to make sure I'm liking the way that's looking. So far, so good. Okay, and then let's see. Next color on the scale we got going here. And over here. And right now when I'm drawing, you can't see that it's matching up, but then you, when I zoom out, you see that's gone in every single direction here. And then let's see where I am next. Okay, let's do this one. And this one. Okay, and so we have a nice looking center going on right here. And then the next thing, let's do the spokes going pretty far out. So all of these spokes, I'm gonna have them all be the same color. So for this one, we're gonna go here, and I might go over that again. And if I hold down at the very end, it'll snap to a straight line, and it'll tell me at the top that a line has been created. Okay, and then this one, we don't need to go over that one twice because it's actually, because it's Symmetry, it'll just automatically kind of be doubled up right there. And then same thing on this one. Let's go here, and I don't want it to be that thick, so let's go back. There we go, and maybe go over that one more time. Okay, so I have my main spokes, and then we're gonna start over. So we're at the very end here, and we're saturation, and then I want to start over again. So I'm going to go back to the very beginning with the darkest shade, and we're going to start using that pressure sensitivity with these kind of leafy butterfly looking things, and I'm going to go like this. So I'm going to go out, and same thing over here on this one, and then we're going to go on, and so it's basically going to go like this the whole time. So this is going to be a pretty quick tutorial. I just want to kind of show you some fun ways of using Symmetry. And then we're going to go number 3. Make it lighter. And if I zoom out really quick, you can see how it's starting to take form. Okay, so I'm on number 3. And it's kind of hard to count where I am, but the easiest way, so say I'm not sure which color I'm using, if I tap on it again, this little dot up here isn't going to change, but if I go here, it changes ever so incrementally. And then for this one, I'm going to do this as an outline instead of filling it in. And then I might go over this just a little bit more to make it brighter. And then same thing over here. I'm going to do that. Okay. So there's the middle part of our snowflake, and now we're going to do the edges. So I'm just going to do this kind of flame here and these leaves, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do for this part, because this part won't have the same sort of symmetry. So anyway, let's go back and let's do, what color am I here? Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4 in, and we're just going to do a leaf here. Yeah, I like that leaf. And that should be the same. So you have 4 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to move on and let's do this kind of flame here. And then this one here. Then maybe do, let's see what I want to do here. And color it in. Let's see if I like that. And so this is what you don't see when I post reels, is I do a lot of back and forth. I'm trying to think if maybe we want to do lightest right there outside, maybe medium on the inside, and then maybe like the darkest one on the inside. I think I like that better. And then I'm gonna brighten up that center right there. Yeah, I think that looks pretty cool. And then we're gonna go do these leaves over here. So we're gonna start, same thing. Let's start with the third color from the outside, and we're just gonna draw leaves, tiny little leaves, and make sure we're moving up the scale as we go along. And I'm going pretty quickly through this. I hope this is okay. And it normally does not take me this short amount of time, right? Like a lot of it is me planning and sketching. And then, so for this, if I just go straight up the middle, it'll be pretty bright, which is okay. But because of the symmetry, maybe what you might want to do is kind of go along the edges so that they meet up, but that it's not overlapping and doubling that brightness. So you can kind of pick what you want. Maybe you just do that center so it's super bright in the middle. Or you can go straight up that middle there to make it super bright. So whatever you'd like. So that basic symmetry is done. We don't need to do anything else with that. Okay, so it's basically, let me just go over what we just did. We went from darkest to lightest, kind of just tracing. And if you don't want to have a sketch beforehand, you can kind of just do whatever you'd like, you know, do whatever doodles using that mirror symmetry. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to go here, and this is where the spokes came in. So if I turn the dark background off, and you can see that these are the natural guides that Procreate gives you. But if I go back up here, let's see where I had it. It was layer number 9. So I'm going to turn on the sketched strokes that I have. And those are going to be coming in handy, because what I'm going to do is for this symmetry right now, if I draw on it with here, it's not going to, like if I wanted to draw this spiral, I would have to draw it 2 times, right? What we want to do though is we want to make these perfectly symmetrical. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go back over here to our drawing guide, and you're going to see this green dot up here, and we're going to move it so that now our symmetry, and I'm going to make sure it's perfectly centered, and you can see the little line right here. I'm going to make sure that it is perfectly lined up with those lines we had before, because sadly I can't rotate the guide itself 22.5 degrees. So I'm using the guide I drew before to make sure it's perfectly lined up, okay? So now what happens is my symmetry is no longer here. My symmetry is going to be here, okay? So you can change and rotate the way your guides line up. So I'm going to turn this background back on, and we're going to finish out our symmetry. And I'm going to turn off the spokes here, okay? Just because I don't need that. I just needed that to line up the guide when I was moving it and rotating it. Okay, so now let's just finish off our snowflake. This is going to be pretty easy. Let's see what blue this looks like. Yeah, we can go with this. So for this, maybe I want the spiral to look like this and make sure I have that brightness there. And then maybe a little bit more additive there. And then we're going to move on. Let's go and do this one and light pressure, maybe a little bit heavier pressure, and then finish off with light pressure. But it runs in over here. So actually, instead of paying attention to what that looks like on this side, I'm gonna wanna pay attention to where that lines up with this leaf here. Okay? And that looks pretty good. Let me just brighten it up here. And right here. And then from there, let's see where this is. Okay, let's do that one. And then with this one, we're just gonna do kind of a leaf like this. So maybe if I do light pressure there, I might want to define the edges a little bit more and make sure that it's doing it on all of the other spokes as well. Just double checking, don't want to make any. And then for here, we're going to just do a diamond like that and make sure that these edges match up. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And then I'll just color this in. And because of the symmetry, I only have to do half the work, which is pretty nice. Saves a little bit of time. Okay. And that looks pretty good. And then we're actually gonna have to do the same thing on this side because the way it matches up will be a little bit different. Like right over here, let's call this the flame. This flame will be is on the left and the leaves are on the right, but on this one, it's the opposite. So you have to kind of do the same thing and hope they look similar. So going back, I think I'm gonna have to go into my history because I don't remember exactly which hue values I used. So we're gonna start off with this darker color, and I think that matches up. So let me make sure. Yeah, that's the same color, and just go over it, and then go to this second one. See, and you can see how it kind of makes that progression. So we'll go to the second one there, and hope that these little curly cues line up, and that doesn't hit anything. That looks good. And then number 3, we'll do our round leaves by using our pressure. And then last thing, we're going to do our diamond up here at the top. Okay. And your snowflake is done, at least drawing it. So now what we're going to do, I didn't actually end up needing any of these layers. Sometimes I like to have extra layers if I want to keep some of these elements separate. Okay, but we didn't need that. So I'm going to turn off the sketch and I'm going to turn off my drawing guide. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add the finishing details. So one thing I want to do is I kind of want to offset this snowflake from the background. So to do that, what we're going to do, this is something that I commonly get asked, is about shadows. So easiest way to make a drop shadow is I duplicate this first layer. Now I'm going to take 2 fingers, you're going to swipe to the right, and it'll alpha lock. So alpha lock means that when I do something to this layer, I can only draw on the pixels that are already on this layer. Okay, so like if I let me take my Sadie brush and like a dark black, big color. See, I can only draw on those previously laid down pixels. Okay, so actually what I'm going to do, instead of a black, we're going to take a medium to dark gray, and instead of drawing, you can also tap on the layer and tap fill layer, and it'll automatically just fill the entire layer with gray. So we're going to move this layer, we're going to tap and drag it to be below our first layer. Then we're going to swipe again to the right with 2 fingers to turn off the alpha lock. And what we're going to do is we are going to tap the move tool, and we're going to, you can move and offset this. But to show you what it looks like a little better, I'm going to turn the blend mode to linear burn, and then linear burn makes it look black, but then the blend mode, when we blur it and everything, is going to blend it better into that blue. So I'm going to turn off snapping so I can move this to just ever so gently offset from that snowflake. So I've moved it there, and then what you can do, because alpha lock is turned off, we're going to Gaussian blur it. And so if I do that, you can blur it to as much as you want. I'm not going to blur it that much. Let's go, let's see if that looks good. I like that. So it's at 7%. So I've blurred it by dragging to the right, 7. And that looks pretty good. And then I'm actually the background is kind of boring right now. So what we're going to do is I'm going to add a layer above the background. We're going to go over here to adjustments, and we're going to tap noise. And then with noise, I'm going to, let's see, where do I want it? I'm gonna lower it. Let's do 30%. I'm gonna turn the scale up just a little bit. Let's do scale, because I kind of want it to have a little bit of that grainy texture of the glitter in the background. Let's see if I want turbulence up or down. Let's turn turbulence down a little bit. And let's do ridges actually. So move it over here to ridges. I'm gonna turn the scale up to 30% for that then. Let me see what turbulence looks like. Actually, you could probably turn turbulence up to 74%. I have it there. And then with that, I'm gonna actually change the blend mode for this one too, so it blends into the background. So now it's the same color basically as we had before, but you can see that there's more texture in the background, and that gives it a little bit more interest. And then the last thing we're gonna do is I'm going to go up to this blank layer up here above that snowflake drawing, and we're gonna change our color all the way to white. And then with my glitter set, this is the flare brush. It's from the Luminance collection in Procreate. It comes with the app. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn the drawing guide back on actually. With Symmetry Radial selected, you're gonna turn on rotational symmetry, and you're gonna turn on assisted drawing. That's just gonna make sure that a layer is already assisted. And you're going to pick the spots you would like to add a little bit of shine to. So that might be a little bit too big. I'm gonna turn that size down to 5%. Yeah, that looks better. Let me turn drawing guide off just to make sure I like the way that looks. Yeah, and then maybe we could do one like at the top of the little blue thing here. But see, because of the rotational, it's going to also add them here. So if you want to erase those, you would turn assisted drawing off and erase those. So I'm trying to think if there's any place, maybe I'll add another flare there just to make it sparkly. Okay, and then I'm going to turn drawing assist off, and we're going to erase. Let me turn up my eraser in the places that I did not want those added. Okay, and then what we could do is if we wanted to turn, let me see, you can add, if you wanted, I'm trying to think if I want a flare there. Maybe you could add drawing assist. I turned drawing assist back on, and I'm trying to see if I want to add it at the top of these diamonds. I like that. I think I'll keep that. Okay, so you're kind of hearing me talk through my thought process as I go through this snowflake drawing. And so basically for this is, you know, you want to turn on your symmetry. You want to figure out which symmetry you're using. If you're using rotational, the mirrored symmetry, which is automatic, figuring out, you know, which colors you're using. If you're using the glitter brushes, best bet is to go with a darker hue, and it'll give you that nice shine. And then kind of just going from there. And you can do whatever snowflake you'd like. It's just kind of dependent on what you like to see. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments on the video. And when this is on YouTube, you can also leave comments there, and I will do my best to answer. But I hope you enjoyed this. Just a quick little, you know, festive holiday drawing to get you in the mood for the season. So thank you so much for watching, and have a great evening.